All right, YouTube. There's my helper. See, once you get here, you don't need to be cranky. That's good. So, friends and neighbors, when I last left you, talked about pulleys. So look what I got here. I have pulleys. So, you see what I got? This is the 7 3/4 inch stock pulley that I was using. This is that 6.5 inch aluminum, which I made a spacer for. And this is the 6 inch that I bought off eBay that had to get redone. So, being I've got a pesky job and my time is limited, I had to enlist some help. So, got up with my buddy Brian. You know him, I keep calling him out as Baloo 5150 on YouTube. And he took some time the other night and hooked me up. So he took this pulley and he cut it here with the lathe. And then this section was chucked up still, and he opened it up until they would slide together, and then he set it back at the right depth, still chucked in the lathe to keep it nice and straight, and welded it back together, and then cut the excess welds off to try and keep it as balanced as possible. I can't thank the man enough for the assistance that he gives me on a daily basis, but pretty much makes all these pulleys the same level now. So, as of today, I get to use my own discretion as to which one I'm going to use. And I'm going to use that one to start with, because that's the one that's going to give me the least amount of boost from Supercharger alone. And I think that's where I need to be, because the whole head gasket experiment was right expensive. And quite frankly, I'm tired of spending that kind of money. So, I'll put this on, and if the boost levels aren't where they need to be, then I can step up. I know this one's out. I learned that lesson. So, woohoo! I'm so excited. Are you excited? All right. So the other part I think I ended with on this was that this Supercharger pulley off of the extra M90 is not going to work. So I'm going to put this one back on with the keyway that it had, just the way it was when I bought it at Auto Fair. I'm going to put the nut back on it, and I'm going to put it back on the engine. And if my calculations are correct, which they may or may not be, it should be on the low end of boost Supercharger wise, and I'm going to make the difference up with the turbos, which is what I thought I was going to do originally when I conceived the idea. So I think I'm getting close to that, and I'm really excited. I got the heads back on it the other night and been a little under the weather. We've been passing sicknesses around the household, so there's my phone ringing again. I'm going to put this front end back together and see if I can come up with a new belt size, and then reassemble. Thanks. Okay, friends and neighbors, reassembly has nearly concluded. About time to put the front clip back on it. Started to do my brakes, found I got the wrong rotors. That's about standard procedure, but clip time. This gauge is saying pig rich idle, which fits how it's acting. So troubles again. Alright, so this is the bulkhead fittings that I used, and like I said, I had identified that it was a choke point before I installed them. This is the one I actually clearanced. You can see how much I ground off of it to get it clear of the crank, but just the same, I drilled them out, leaving enough meat to keep their integrity intact, or what I felt it was their integrity. But if I measure, so I'll try and hold this camera in a proper location here, not get my fingers in the way. So this is the inside of the AN fitting, and it measures 47.47 of an inch. And if I look at this fitting, I could drill it all I want, and I'm going to run out of meat long before I get to where it needs to be. Okay, so there's the fix. Not the prettiest welding I've ever done. Running out of argon, but I welded those bungs to a plate for either side. I opened up the hole in the oil pan, and then I welded the plate on. Spreads out the weight a little bit, the pressure on it. So we'll see how I do. So there's the inside. You see the, oh, this one's still warm, but the hole's radiused out. Same thing here. So going to use these brass, fit in there, and then it'll hook up very similarly to the way it was. I'm going to change this line. I think it was up against the motor mount, so I built this one at an angle, and I'm going to put a straight end on that 8N line before I put it back together. And I think that's going to do the trick. All right, friends and neighbors, new developments. I think I've helped the oiling situation. Ran some vents off the top of the valve covers. This one I put it right in the filler neck. They're just vented to atmosphere at the moment, but they're going to go in a catch can system that's vented, so excessive crankcase pressure can be vented, because that was part of my oiling issue. Other part of it was inadequate drains where my bulkhead fittings choked into the pan. I showed you that the other day. Just took it around the block a few times. Well, looks like I need an overflow on my radiator as well. But new development, the gaskets back of the supercharger right here are leaking boost pressure. So as you can imagine, before the turbos spool up, supercharger's sucking. It's also a vacuum leak, and we went around the block once and we were threatening to go again, and all of a sudden it started idling at 2,000 RPMs and wouldn't come back down. So I think I'm going to pull the supercharger back off, maybe make some new gaskets out of some nice thick material, and hopefully that'll cure that. Friends and neighbors, it is coming together, and it is a beast. Thanks. Alright, YouTube, so just a little update. I think when I last left you, I needed to re-gasket supercharger. See, look at me, I'm practicing my hand model stuff. Ended up using a cork rubber gasket this time instead of paper. And what I found was that front gasket right here is the one that was leaking. And it only had a very small sliver, maybe 3/8 of an inch wide across the top, and it had broke under vacuum and pulled down inside. So when I made the new one, even though it's not supported or bolted to anything on top, I left it long because when it's tall like that, it'll give it some strength. So got that fixed. Thing seems to be running good. I also built some breather tanks, oil catch cans. I hooked one up on each valve cover, and got a little drain on the bottom of them. One on this side as well. And I also made a radiator catch can so long as I was acting as a plumber, playing with my pipage Schedule 40. You can build all kinds of stuff out of Schedule 40. So there it is. Getting close to the race time. Getting really excited. Actually, Mr. Heavy Chevy stopped over the other night. I took him for a little spin around the block, and he did the same in the budget turbo. And I think race day is going to be a good time. Good time for all to be had. So we were doing a little talking about how this thing's going to get scored, and somehow or another he keeps saying that he's most certainly going to win the imaginary fuel consumption portion of the test. So I was having a pretty good time with him bringing that out, and either way it's going to be good. So that's what I know about it, and I guess I'll see you there.